So we finally have some information regarding the resolution of Watch Dogs on the PlayStation 4 and on the Xbox One, alright? It was previously rumored that Watch Dogs was going to be 1080p on the PS4 and 900p on the Xbox One. Sony just a couple days ago came out and said no, it's going to be 1080p and 60 frames per second on the PlayStation 4, and they have since removed that listing on their official pre-order page. I'm sure you guys all have heard of all the rumors regarding the resolutions and so on and so forth. Now, we finally have some confirmation. Ubisoft finally came out and they told us what exactly the resolution and frame rate of the next-gen systems is going to offer. And here they are. So, on the Xbox One, the resolution is going to be 792p at 30 frames per second. And on the PlayStation 4, it's going to be 900p at 30 frames per second. So not even 1080p on any of the next-gen consoles. It's going to be 792p on Xbox One and 900p on PlayStation 4, both at 30 frames per second. So my question is this, and it's not even a question to Ubisoft, it's a question to Sony. Where did you get 1080p 60 frames per second? If this has been confirmed by Ubisoft, and I'll leave a link in the description in quotes, the guy clearly says, he writes on the Ubi blog that, hey, it's 900p on PS4, 30 frames per second. Where did Sony get 1080p and 60 frames per second? Like who put that on there? Because that is like, I mean, I could understand if it's 1080p, 30 frames per second. Okay, you were off with the frame rate a little bit, but you were off by 50% less pixels. I mean, this is like, it's such like an odd like fuck up, you know, to just put, oh, it's 1080p 60 frames per second. I mean, what? And I got worried too. I mean, I would much rather have it be in the state it's in right now, and hopefully it's in a really good state, because when you see 1080p 60 frames per second, I was thinking to myself, well, that's a cool technological achievement, but what happens if Sony like purposely told Ubisoft, downgrade the graphics, we want the better resolution and the better frame rate? I mean, so it just comes down to this. Would you rather have a less pretty game with barely any ambient occlusion, barely any anti-aliasing, and but you have 1080p and you have 60 frames per second? Or would you rather have a 900p game at 30 frames per second, but you get the settings that are somewhat equivalent to the ultra settings on PC? And that's really what it boils down to. I would much rather choose a slightly lower resolution with 30 frames per second, but have graphics that are equivalent to the ultra settings on on the PC, rather than 1080p 60 frames per second and not even get like any of the special effects. I mean, ambient occlusion has to do with it really has to do with making the game look realistic with the whole lighting situation. What ambient occlusion does is it allows for a more realistic lighting where light bounces around and it makes shadows and stuff, and it's just a more realistic form of lighting. Far Cry 3 had an option on PC where you had I believe it's what's it called? Something screen ambient occlusion. It's SSAO. I forgot the full name of it. And then they have horizon-based ambient occlusion, which is the one I used. All right, that is the best version of ambient occlusion you can get, HBAO. NVIDIA has HBAO Plus, and that's sort of like has a little bit more tricks in there. But in Far Cry 3, what it really did, and to really bring the immersion together, is it added shadows when the character was holding a gun in the first-person perspective. It added shadows right here under his hand, so it really looked like he was holding the gun, and you could see the dark crevices right there, and it just really added a cool, realistic effect. And that's essentially what hopefully that they're going to do with Watch Dogs. I mean, a lot of people complain about the graphics, and I did that controversial video, which still got it's almost 100,000 views right now, that controversial Watch Dogs graphics video. And but it really just boils down to, I mean, a lot of people were complaining about the lighting, and that was the big thing. Oh, the lighting looks off. The lighting looks off. What if that had like no ambient occlusion in that version, but now we're going to have more realistic lighting that really makes the game look better than what we've seen, makes it look more similar to the E3 2012 gameplay. I still don't think it's going to look that good even on PC. I think they changed his character model a little bit, and they probably just added a couple more effects in there. I don't think it's going to look exactly how it did. Just evidence of all the games that have been shown at E3 and that have actually come out. There's really been no game. I mean, you could take Uncharted 3 for example. Looked really really great at E3. And it still looked great when it came out, but it didn't have that, I mean, especially with the character models, it didn't have that amazing graphical effects that we saw at E3. You know, they kind of dumbed it down slightly in order to get the game to run well. So it just boils down to that this is the resolution. And hopefully that with this lower resolution, with the lower frame rate than what Sony was saying, we're going to have graphics that are much better, that are equivalent on the PC to the ultra settings on PC, and I really hope that's the case. I really hope that we do get better graphics as a result of this, and that everything just looks much better. I can think of Battlefield 4 right now, which is 900p on the PS4, and to be honest, the game looked great. I think it looked really nice. You know, it was a bit more softer than what you get with 1080p, but you know, when you're playing the game, resolution and stuff, it immediately kind of passes your mind. I mean, even with Call of Duty Ghost, you know, I got on the Xbox One, it's 720p on the Xbox One and 1080p on the PS4. I mean, I was kind of annoyed at it. I'm still kind of annoyed at it now that I didn't get it on the better platform when I had the choice, but the 720p, that just kind of passed through me, you know, and I'm sure the same thing's going to go through here. So, I'm getting it on the PS4. I did send in a request to Ubisoft to get a review copy for the PC version. Hopefully, you know, they'll send me one because I would like to see how it would run on my computer. But that's it, guys. All right, so that's been confirmed. There's a link below in the description if you want to read stuff about it, and let me know what your thoughts are. You know, I really don't do these news vlogs that much, but I wanted to sort of do a follow-up to my video on you know, the Watch Dogs graphics controversy. I sort of want to do this sort of little follow-up thing just to confirm that it is indeed not even 1080p on the next-gen consoles, which is fine. You know, hopefully we'll get better graphics as a result. We're just going to have to wait and see how the game is. So I'll see you guys later. Have a great day. Goodbye.